Hi, everybody. Welcome to your investment platform for home advocates with our investment expert, Steve Love. How are you, Steve?
I am super great, but I will get better.
It can only get better from super great. I mean, can't blame
That's
you.
right.
I still haven't seen daylight today here in Las Vegas, where it's just simply too hot for any human being. With
Well,
that said,
it's
yeah, go ahead.
summer.
Uh,
It's not there at least half the year, right?
it's funny. I went to a networking event 2 nights ago. We talked about this, but they go, yeah, we're basically holding out until late September, October. And I go, yeah, I totally get that. I just getting through August and September are the early part of September, just so horrendous. Just waiting for football season. I'm being patient. I'm being patient. I'm being
Well,
patient.
I love Vegas, but I usually stay, in the air conditioning when I'm there. And I think your football stadium, which I've never been into with the Raiders,
Indoor and air
they have
conditioned.
air conditioned. Very cool. I
It's
got to come
very
in there
awesome.
and go to the Raider game
The
because I'm a
Charger
Raider
game
fan.
is usually about the last game of the year, and I went last year for the first time, and it was air conditioned. It was pleasant. Um, it was an interesting experience to be in an indoor stadium that was temperature controlled. If you're anywhere in the United States and you are interested in learning about being an investor or getting information about investment in the current market, that's the guy to go see. His name is Steve Love. The information's down in the link. If you want to, just type in home advocates. Steve's right on the middle of the page. You can use our 800 number. We'll get you right to Steve. Steve or one of his team, Matt or Jason, will give you a call depending on who it is on what given day. And we're all here to help you do better on investments. And that's what I want to talk about today, Steve. Let's jump right into it. Uh, how did you start ARIA, for goodness sakes? I mean, is there, you go to a seminar on starting ARIA? I mean, let's start from the ground up. Let's just say I randomly, which I wouldn't do because Steve's out here in Vegas, he's got a big group. But let's just say I wanted to start ARIA tomorrow. Do you join an organization? How does it work?
In my case, it was 20 years ago, and I had a friend that wanted to start several RIAs nationwide. And so I mentioned this to my wife, Robin, and she said, "No way." That sounds like a lot of work. And the next morning, she goes, I've been thinking about that RIA thing. And, she liked setting up events. At the time, she was very active in what's that service group that you go to every week? Um,
Toastmasters or
um, not Toastmasters. It's a service organization.
okay.
But and you know it, not moose or elk, but
Oh,
one of the
Elker. Yeah, yeah, okay. I
yeah.
follow.
She used to go to one of those every week and set up meetings and events and so forth. She goes, that might be right up my alley. So along with our friend Ron, we started this RIA, uh, or this is about 20 years ago. And then we ran it, we've been running it ever since. I love it. It changed my life because I got to meet so many more people. I got to meet so many more investor trainers, successful investors and trainers. I met a guy named Lee Honish once. You ever heard of him?
Occasionally. I used to be him.
uh, David Bartels, of course,
Absolutely.
and we've
Aaron
had,
Norris, Mr. Norris, the entire Norris clan. The one that always blows me away. You've literally had the best of the best through your room.
yeah, and you probably can't name a trainer that we haven't had. I mean, one of the guys that started it all was people like um, Dr. Albert Lowry.
Wow.
Um,
I was
nothing
ju- I was blown away by the Joel Bauer one, but that's just because I'm such a speaker nerd. It
Yeah, we
it
had
was so
Joel
matter
Bauer
of fact with you. Oh yeah, we had Joel. Everybody comes through here.
and the Nothing Down guy. What's his name? Who wrote the book Nothing Down? Uh, you know who I'm
I
talking about.
know exactly who you're talking about, as does everybody. We're getting old. I feel like we're getting old.
My original mentors were people like Pete Fortunato, Jack Miller. Of course, we had them, Jimmy Napier, John Schaub. You know some of these guys.
I'm waiting for you to hold out for Seth Godin. I need to bring you into the modern age. When you get Seth Godin, I'll jump on the next call.
Okay.
uh,
Ron LeGrand.
okay, so based on running AREA over the past 20 years, just from a networking standpoint, you or anybody in your group that's been there that long, let's just talk about it from the perspective of what does that do for me? Am I going to, if I'm walking it and talking it and I'm working within the group, I'm sure for you, you've probably got a good handle on this. How many deals have come across your desk that you've gotten to take a look at over 20 years?
So although we provide education, and education is important, what you know is important. The more knowledge you have, of course, is important. Um, who you know is probably even more important.
It's way more
That's why I know
important.
you. That's why you do what you do. You do a lot of networking. I know you encourage a lot
I
of
don't
networking.
I didn't. I just started doing it recently, which is why we're kind of having this talk. I didn't understand the power of the networking aspect of it. I'm very socially awkward, as you well know. I'm not really good in large crowds, and um, they don't give you a
Well,
chance. They don't give you a chance in these rooms when you're networking.
well, you know, the reason networking is important, you've heard, is it a book or a movie or something? 6 degrees, was it 6 degrees of separation?
Yep.
We're 6 people from knowing everyone on the planet. You know, I know him and he knows her, and you know, eventually we know everyone. So you have access to everyone on the planet if you'll get out there and use it, if you'll go out there and talk to people. Um, you know, I need this. Well, I don't have this, but you know, my brother-in-law, he knows someone that has that, or he
Yeah.
used to work for someone at a company that, you know, can find out the answer to that question. So networking is important. Education is important too. That's when we sell education. And during the pandemic, you know, it's been hard because we literally couldn't get together. And some groups across the country, including ours, are still doing, you know, most everything on Zoom. And then, by the way, about 5, 6 years ago, we took over and started a group in Las Vegas, where you are. So I'll be seeing you more often once we get our live meetings.
Absolutely.
We're there. So
Well, and that begs the question, right? What's more, I'm not ever going to place anything over education, but I am learning the value of the networking aspect. And I think when you're talking a group like this, and I've learned it especially from your group that has become advocates as well, that are a part of our program, the networking is really strong. Like the networking part of your group specifically, and you also foster a community that isn't sort of your typical investor, if that makes sense. These aren't, we've heard the stories over the last couple of weeks of what investors are actually doing in the current market. I don't get that impression from your group at all. I believe that they're all trying to make honest deals and try to help people out and get everybody to a really good outcome. And of course, there are outliers. There are always outliers, even within my own group. But by and large, because of who you are as a person, you have attracted a group of individuals, both in Southern California, here in Las Vegas, and I'm sure throughout the country, that are amazing people that are just looking to make an honest dollar and help out the individuals that they're working with. Were you surprised as you watched that played out throughout the years?
not really, because that's the way I was trained initially. And you just used a couple of words, help out people. And I've often said, and you've heard me say this before, and you've said it before, we are in the helping business. A deal doesn't get done um, unless it helps both parties. Sure, we like to make money. Great. I love money. You probably like money too. But it's even more important when you get a hug from people you help. This could be a person that, you know, you helped that was in behind on payments. It could be a person that's in, you know, probate, or they have to sell their house because they have to move into an assisted living now. They're getting, unfortunately, divorced, transferred, whatever. These are folks that we tend to help, and there's all of these different niches of folks that we can help, and that's what we try to do. And we try to do it. I like to do it because I was trained that way, creatively. And some RIAs across the country, they reflect the owners. Maybe some are just involved with buying things for cash. Great. We like to do things more creatively. We like to take over existing loans. We like seller financing, that type of thing. Not that we won't buy for cash. If we can get a really, really low price, then we'll pay all cash.
Absolutely.
And it depends
I
what
think
the
it says,
seller.
I think it says a lot about you. I think it's representation of how the organization is run, the type of people that are coming in to educate. It says a lot about you in general. I just know it from personally being around you. You're the kindest, sweetest man I've ever met, ever. If you can tame me as a
Thank you.
beast on a speaking day, it's literally like watching the hand of God push me quietly into the corner. If you are interested in finding out, you join Steve's group, let me know. I'll put you onto our basic program. Make sure you're on our coaching calls. I would be happy to give you information that would be beneficial with the coming real estate market the way it is. Which takes me to my next point of I agree with you in everything that you're saying. I've learned it from the Lipoviches. I've learned it from the people that are like that, remarkable people, just remarkably kind people that are, and they're making all the money, near as I can tell. They're highly successful. They're wrapped up in lots of deals and doing very successfully. They don't do it at the expense of people. And again, I think that's a reflection of the group. I now have a better value. And honestly, almost every training we're talking about, and every trainer, including myself, you can go watch us on YouTube and watch the exact same training these days. I really think that we're not, at least I know this in my own group, and I've been trying to push it a little further. There's a lot of value in the networking aspect. I really did not see it until I went to a live event for whatever they call it, speakeasy or whatever the heck it is. But getting that 15 seconds and getting the perception of people that are not a part of a normal network to see how they think. I really think the power's in the networking. Am I crazy for thinking that at all, Steve?
Not at all. And one can practice their elevator speech if they run into someone in the elevator or at a bar. Not that I go to bars or wherever. Hi, my name is Steve. I do this. I'm in real estate. I help people behind on payments, or I help people that need to sell their house because they're moving into a retirement home or whatever. By the way, I talked to our friend Miles Lipovitz just last night, and we were talking about Mr. Lee Honish, and how we both love Lee. By the way, the guy I couldn't remember was, I feel embarrassed about it, is Bob Allen, Robert Allen.
Robert
I've
Allen.
had him.
Yeah. Big Bob.
Yeah. Nothing down.
I completely agree with you. And what I've learned by getting out there, the more I talk about my marketing services, not necessarily my real estate services, because for me, the fun is these days doing marketing for a couple of kids who are DJs, who are just trying to make it in Vegas, who came to the event. And I said, I'm more than happy to help you. You're not going to charge us? I'm not going to charge you. It's just fun. I'm tired of eating broccoli every day. Give me a carrot. If somebody was there who was representing a pizza company, and would you trade pizza for it? I would actually. You'd be very surprised what you can get me for. If it's, I think we get caught in the same slog, right? And I would say this even for investors, same slog. Call my agents, check all the deals, pull all the data, go do some kind of marketing, double check on the projects that I'm working on day after day after day. How do you keep investors focused, sort of the eye on the prize? I guess that's really kind of what I'm talking about. I've seen it for myself. If you invest in real estate, stay in real estate. I do marketing in general, so I have a much wider range, but I primarily do real estate all day. It gets tiring. It does. It's kind of a slog every day for me sometimes, talking about the same things. How do you keep people focused in the group? I mean, what speaker tips have you picked up on staying focused on the deal and not getting distracted?
Well, we're talking about marketing. You're talking about marketing.
Well,
And
I'm talking in general. I think my impression, not certainly not the top investors. They wake up and they're very regimented in their day. I don't think there's a difference between doing marketing or being an investor or being a realtor or being a guy who makes pizza. There's something to be said about that, keeping focused on what it is that I do, and putting that message out there on a daily basis. I'm just
Well,
wondering, in the time you've watched this, how do the top people stay focused on what they're doing?
well, in marketing, I know people that spend $30,000-$40,000 per month on marketing, sending out um, flyers and mailers and so forth. And I know a lot of people that now they've been around for a while spend zero on marketing. Why? Because they've built up their network, and now the phone rings, your phone rings, my phone rings, because they've been around a while. Now, if you're brand new, your phone's not going to ring. So you got to go out and do marketing. What is marketing? It could be as simple as TTP, talk to people. Okay. On the street, at networking events, at the Chamber of Commerce, at RIA groups, just talk to people. I mean, you can go knock on doors. Most people won't do that, but one of my mentors, Jack Miller, that's all he ever used to do, is knock on doors. Hi, looking to sell your house anytime soon? I'm looking to buy.
Yeah, it
That's
was funny that the sponsor of this particular event I went to was a solar guy, and he walked in, he was covered in sweat, and he goes, "I was out knocking doors," and I went, "In 100-degree weather," like quietly under my breath. I went, "In 100-degree weather." If it works, it works. But he's got a regiment. He's following his regiment. He knows how his bread and butter is happening. And I think that's something that people in real estate, including investors and realtors, they forget that. Like the minute you stop that momentum, you're basically killing yourself. You got to pick a lane. If it's networking, then do networking all week. There's somebody talking somewhere. Go find it, go do it. There's an Elks Club, there's a Lions Club, there's a Toastmaster, there's a speakeasy, there's a something. Then go do it. Then go do it and be a part of
and
that 15 seconds.
and back to knocking on doors in a real estate space, whether you're listing a property or wanting to buy a property or selling encyclopedias, knocking on doors flat out works. Now, most people won't do it, but the ones that do it as a part of their regimen, I'm going to knock on 100 doors 3 times a week, and they're going to do that no matter what. Those folks are successful. You might not want to do it in the summer in Las Vegas or even in LA, too hot, Phoenix and Florida and all of that. But
100%.
if one does it, it flat out works. That
I
doesn't
would
mean you
even
have
go a step further because I get people who bring up mailers every once in a while. I do free consultation calls and they talk about mailers. And they'll go, "Well, which letter should I use?" I go, "Well, how many times are you going to send this letter out? Like how many rounds and how many pieces? Let's start with the math of the situation." "Well, I only intend to send out, I only have a budget for 1,000 pieces per month." I go, "Then your results are going to be really low." I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Are you cycling it and doing it every couple of weeks because you don't know what day they're going to chuck it or set it aside? Um, People think that I'm against traditional marketing. And I have certainly shot enough videos where you see me losing my mind over traditional marketing. It's not traditional marketing that bothers me. You got to be willing to do the repetition of the model. If you're going to knock
that,
doors, you got to go knock doors. You got to do it.
and you've got to do, like, I used to know a guy, it was in, I think it was Lake Elsinore. He had a quote farm of, several hundred properties, and he would hit the same door every 2 or 3 months. I'm the I buy guy. I'm the I buy houses guy in this neighborhood. And they would get to know him eventually. He would leave his card. And so he was just like mailings. You do several mailings to the same address. He would knock the same doors, over and over. So that is important. That
Yeah,
repetition.
I think that's the key. And as I watch all of this playing out as we go into a period of time, I'll say it to every investor and every agent out there watching this video who's thinking of investing. I'm a big Marvel fan for those that don't know it. It's the Thanos conclusion. We have a finite number. We have a very finite number of resources right now in real estate. If you've got a million people who hang real estate licenses. You've got another million people who want to invest money, which is a primary driver of the current market. And I'm using low numbers. And we're only talking about 400,000 transactions. And by the way, they count each side of the deal as one transaction. So really, we're only talking about 200,000 houses changing hands over the last couple of years, 200,000 to 300,000 houses, plus or minus, throughout the United States. To quote Thanos, we have a finite number of resources and too many people for those resources. So standing out, the repetition, networking, I've said it, and you've heard me say it a million times. If you're walking and talking real estate, pretty much real estate's going to drop in your lap if you're talking about it every day and you're willing to go out there. And, is there a stigma for investors the way that there is for people that are real estate agents? Do investors get a bad rap?
Some do. I mean, it's not like a used car salesman or something. Was
Certainly not realtors.
I just saw Thor. That's my latest Marvel adventure. But like we're talking about knocking doors, we're talking about mailings. I know some people that just when you're knocking on doors, they've built up their network of attorneys, because attorneys may just refer them from now on people that are getting divorced, or people that are going into probate, or people that have to sell their house because mom needs to move, that type of thing. So when the deals start coming to you, once you've been around a while, that's a good place to be. You get a lot of referrals as time goes on too.
So from a base fundamental principle, let's say that I'm a realtor converting into being an investor. I came into money. I'm going to start investing in real estate. Of course, the logical thing is to join Steve's RIA. Simple as that. I'm sure you get this question all the time. Where do I start, Steve?
Good point. That it would depend upon you. Some people like the idea and your background. Some people love the idea, believe it or not, of knocking on doors. Others can't stand it. That maybe they're a female and the idea of knocking on doors terrifies them. Oh, there's a pandemic going on. That terrifies them. I'm not going to leave my room. I know people that do a lot of investing through their computers. That scares me because technology is not my thing. That's why Jason and Matt are here. Giovanna too. I would rather myself knock on doors. I don't care if it's an attorney door. And by the way, speaking of knocking on doors, there's various ways to knock on doors. One way to be knock on every door on the block. Hi, my name is Steve, looking to buy a house in this neighborhood. You know of anyone that's looking to move soon? They might say, yes, we're looking to move when Junior, graduates. Or the other way, and you might promote this yourself, I'm not sure, Lee, is people that have to sell. Why? Because they're behind on payments. Okay, maybe they're in foreclosure, maybe they're in probate, maybe they're getting divorced. Those are folks that you can knock on the door. Calling can be a way of knocking on doors, but anymore calling
Absolutely.
is hard. Calling is hard because so many people, especially if they're behind on payments, don't answer their phone anymore.
It's a really interesting perspective. So find a niche that you're comfortable in. And I can't stress it enough. YouTube is one of the greatest resources on the planet. You have a video library of billions of videos, millions of investors, people who have done all of this stuff before us. I wouldn't know. I would have always thought I'm going to use my money to invest until I I interviewed an investor for one of my channels one day. And he's like, oh no, you always leverage. There's always somebody with money. That's not the hard part. The hard part is the deal. The people who focus on the deals are the people who make the money. So I have learned through the process of watching others who have already paved the ground. I like to think that I'm a pretty good speaker, but by watching somebody like Joel Bauer, I've picked up techniques that are substantial. Watching somebody like Robert Allen, who has dwarfed the number of people I've ever talked to, and watching his techniques on stage. These are little simple things. So if I were starting out as an investor, and that is my plan, everything you're talking about is correct. Finding a trigger point, finding a specialty. Let's say you wanted to work probates, right? And start focusing on those. Type in probate and learn everything about a probate for your state. It's really simple. Distressed properties, come see us. We'll teach you everything about distressed properties and pre-foreclosure. The problem is people hear that word and they go, oh, so you get REOs. No, we don't do REO. That's a myth, right? So become savvy in a specific field and then focus on that, right? That seems to be kind of the takeaway from today, which is this is where I'm going. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to give it a good run for the next 3 to 6 months in this niche.
And if you want to learn REOs, there's a way to do that. If you want to learn short sales, there's a way to do that. You asked how to get started. If you're brand new, I know a lot of folks that have get started just by getting in their car and driving around and looking for vacant, ugly houses. Okay, now I got an address of a vacant, ugly house. I got to find the owner. There's ways to do that, and we can teach you how to do that. And you call them up, hey, I'm calling about your vacant, ugly house, and go on from there, because something's got to happen to that house.
That's how I learned it back in the 90s. And I thought everything that my boss at the time was telling me to do was the craziest things I had ever heard. He's like, I want you to drive every block in the city of Arcadia. I go, what am I looking for? If it's got a fence around it, if it has construction around it, if it's got overgrowth on it, you write down the address and you bring it back here and we try to contact him.
Exactly.
That's it. You find a vacant lot, write it down. Let's find out who owns it.
By the way, you mentioned our friend Joel Bauer earlier. For those of you that don't know, Joel is an excellent speaker. He's also a magician. I don't know if you know that, but he recommends dressing for success.
Absolutely.
I tend to be a shirt guy. I mean, a t-shirt guy. I must have flunked his class, but not that that doesn't work. So I certainly recommend Joel Bauer.
In fact, if you come and see me live, I will be wearing a black suit with a pink tie on a white shirt with a pink handkerchief. It's very Joel Bauer. And in fact, he knows this. We did a full training with a Bauer-like card that I created based off of roughly one of his templates that was designed for home advocates to use that we have. That's all Bauer stuff. It works. I've got a testimonial on the front. I've got my information on the back. Real testimonials that came into Home Advocates for the wonderful advocates that we have who are out there helping people. And oh yeah, I've implemented as much as I can. I think at the time when I did the first training, I go, there's 2 ways I go out into the public. When do I want to be noticed? I'll wear a suit. When I don't want to be noticed, I'll wear a black t-shirt and I'm out with my daughter. Does that mean if I get the opportunity, I'm not going to use a tap card or pull out my card that puts me out there front and center? Absolutely. But they are definitely two different things. When I go to this event tonight, I will dress up. I'm going to go play the part of a marketer, and it's different. Being the role of a marketer tonight, I fit the role. A guy in a pair of jeans, and everybody has a perception of what you look like. If you're an investor, I think you should look the part for sure and live that part, especially if you're going to a networking event. In real estate, I think people are looking for more professional, but everybody else is they want me to look like somebody who works at Google, almost like you almost have that kind of crusty, dusty, you've been behind a computer all day. You're right. I was, and that's what I look like because that's your image. And that's kind of the Bauer message. And a huge tip for anybody watching this, give them the message that they're looking for. If you want to be an investor, look it, live it, and be it. That you are the minute you say you are. I don't think you have to do the first deal. You are the minute you say you are. You want to join Steve's RIA. Okay. You have access to people that will have money or help you with the deal and certainly even want to partner with you. I could be completely wrong, but that's been my perception of everybody I've worked with in your group. They love it when a deal comes flying across their desk.
Yeah. So give us a call. Give Lee a call, give me a call. We want to help you too. We want to train you to help others. That's what our business is all about.